Should I flush? I can guarantee you this is going to challenge a lot of people's thought process. You're here with Mark Powell on Perfect Gardens TV. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't checked out our YouTube membership, please go ahead and do so, where all your questions get sent to the top. You also get access to our group private membership. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into this. So a lot of people, even in my private membership group, disagree with me on this subject. And I used to encourage a lot of people to flush, right? And why did I tell people to flush? And back in the day, it was just because everyone told me that you should flush. And so that's why I would tell everyone else. There's this story that my family taught me about how there was this little 7-year-old girl. It was her birthday, and they would make her an 8-inch cake, right? And she was wondering one day why on her birthday, why they made an 8-inch cake when the oven was 12 inches wide. And so she ran up to her mom, asked her, "Hey mom, why do you make us an 8-inch cake when the oven's 12 inches wide?" And she says, "Honey, I don't really know. Go ask your grandma." And so she runs up to the grandma and she says, "Grandma, why do you guys make me an 8-inch cake when the oven's 12 inches wide now?" And the grandma says, "Honey, I don't really know. Why don't you go ask your great-great-grandmother?" And she runs up to her great-great-grandmother and she says, "Great-great-grandmother, why do you make me an 8-inch cake when the oven's 12 inches big?" And the great-great-grandmother starts laughing and just laughing and laughing. She says, Are they still making 8-inch cakes? Honey, the oven was 9 inches wide back in the day." And so this is my point, is that technology and thought process has evolved, and there is critical information that is being overlooked. Same thing with this situation with the oven, right? No one reformulated the recipe to add in the extra flour and the water necessary to make a good recipe. And so instead of figuring out the ratios, they just stick with grandma's recipe and just kept making an 8-inch cake, even though they could have improved the situation. So let's go ahead and get into this. And I want to just say thank you so much to Dan Walters. Great video. I probably wouldn't recommend to people not to flush, because a lot of people get the potting part wrong and use the wrong soil, end up with a butt tone of newts, and they don't even realize, and you waste it even if you flush for a week or two. So the reason why I'm recommending people not to flush anymore is because over the years of getting in the 4 years of extraction side that I was getting into, more on the R&D, the testing, all this stuff, one of the observations I made was that there was more chlorophyll that was coming out of the initial extraction. And I can't really discuss the technique of how we were extracting because I'm still under non-disclosures, but how we were extracting that oil off of that plant, one things we noticed, and one of the things we were trying to eliminate, took some time to really get us really good at eliminating the chlorophyll molecule out of the crude, because chlorophyll is actually really difficult to extract. And you have carotenes and you have all these different basically debris or things they don't want as you're going to an extraction or an isolate process, right? And as you go through these different distillation processes and then go on later to the more elaborate machine that turns that 80% or 90% distillate into an isolate. Through the years of being in the R&D phase, though, I came to the realization it was either watching a video or whatever. You're always getting information from somewhere, right? And then you're making a critical decision. But we came through the process of basically realizing that through our extraction process, we were picking up more chlorophyll molecules as we were doing our extraction process. But then in other biomass material we were processing, we were getting less chlorophyll, right? And if we were able to get less chlorophyll, it actually completely sped up and dramatically reduced the cost to get to an isolate. So I came to the realization through basically all this R&D that product that we got from people that flushed their plant made the job harder on the extraction team. And I came to the realization that when you flush your plants, that your plants are forced to use the mobile nutrients, which basically begins the degradation process of the chlorophyll molecule within the plant. And obviously, yeah, that's good for the plant, but at the same time too, though, I've also come to the realization that a lot of people also harvest their plants early. So they're harvesting their plants early. They're stripping their plants of minerals. They're also stripping the soil of minerals, and the minerals and salts are different things. So I understand that we're not talking biological growing where you don't have to harvest or you don't have to flush. We're talking about liquid nutrients, right? And also specifically the types of liquid nutrients, salt dried, specific, incomplete man-made chemical reaction nutrients that we're discussing. And the reason why I recommend only a 2-day flush, 3-day flush max is because I want to use the chlorophyll molecule within the flower to create a nitrogen-rich environment. And so I'm constantly pushing and urging and describing, in my view, opinions are like assholes, right? I'm describing this ideal way to grow a plant and harvest it and preserve it until you're able to bring it to market so that the smaller end consumers can exist longer in this market. And so I'm trying to teach a lot of people that are just starting to grow, but they haven't really worked out the distribution side of this whole market. I'm trying to teach them how to grow it, bring in high yields, preserve it until they're able to find people that are interested in their product, the way they're growing it, and then redistribute it back to the marketplace where someone wouldn't realize that inventory that the grower finally was able to get rid of was grown 8 months to a year prior, just because they did such a good job at growing it, curing it, harvesting it, and preserving it. I also do begin to think, though, that if I'm stripping the plant of certain minerals, that again, I'm trying to rush this process, this curing process. I'm trying to rush the process to get this product to the end consumer, right? I'm not really taking into consideration what I'm doing now that could have some type of detrimental effect to the medicine. There are two different thought processes, right? If I'm trying to get the product to the marketplace, I might start this flushing process because I'm trying to kind of speed up this entire process to get the product to the end consumer and so that they like it quickly. But if I'm going with this other thought process of I want to preserve this product, I want to access the higher level terpenes because I have a healthier or longer grow. Again, it's a different psychology around this entire plant in my viewpoint. Once again, because I observed more chlorophyll coming through on the oil extraction side, and because 80% of this market is going to oil, I sway to creating better products where the majority of this market is leaning to, right? And if I can teach people and adjust people's movements and adjustments to make a more efficient process from, in my viewpoint, again, opinions like assholes, everyone has one. If I can make slight adjustments where the grower all the way to the end consumer is making a better decision to lower the overall price point of this industry just by doing one thing, because a lot of the growers don't know how difficult it is to remove the chlorophyll molecule, and a lot of people just get used to buying and purchasing what they get, but they don't understand. People just don't understand the process. And if you simplify this process, you're going to get a less expensive end consumer product. So that's where I recommend to only do a 2 or 3 day flush, right? You just get the salts that you have built up in that soil enough down so that when you get that soil and re-amend it and go to your next grow, it's not going to nuke or destroy the new plants that you're transplanting into. And whatever they do kind of experience, you can, within a few days, they'll work their way out of it. Because I'm big on not having to rebuy soil. So what am I trying to do, right? I am trying to create a more efficient process that reduces the overall cost of growing this plant. I'm trying to make systems and processes more efficient and less labor intensive for the growers so that they can also scale up in this marketplace and reabsorb part of this market back from the large scale corporations. while at the same time doing my best to keep the highest level of integrity and culture intact in this industry. What I can tell you though is if you flush those plants, it's going to make the extraction team's job a little bit harder. At the end of the day, the plant has already taken up all the nutrients. Most of the time people are harvesting too early, and when you strip your soil of nutrients, you don't really get to see the full benefits of and potential of what these plants can do. That's all I'm saying. And once again, I am so grateful to everyone's support, and I love it when people throw out their viewpoints and opinions in a productive manner, because it allows us to create further discussion around how to grow these beautiful, gorgeous plants. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a great grow, everyone. So I would actually flip that around. I would actually harvest the top colas and leave the lower buds to fill in. And the reason why is actually for multiple reasons.